Real Life Trading Pre-Market Day Trading Show. All right, what's up, everybody? Hope you are having a great week. I missed you all. I was in Arizona for a few days for spring break. Some spring training games, saw some friends, did some cool stuff, hung out with the girlfriend and the kids, and did a lot of driving. Long drive back late last night. I did a little bit of trading, but not very much. Although it was good trading, and just I was literally only spending like an hour, maybe even 30 minutes in the morning on some trades, and then that's pretty much it. What's up, Albert? Tana, how are you? Oh, let me get that open. All right, so here is the SPY. Again, I think that Jerome Powell provided some nice certainty to the market that rates are going to go up and are going to continue to go up to fight inflation. And I think that's why the market rallied. You know, the market likes certainty. It rallied a little bit faster than I thought it would, like so many green days in a row. But for the last couple months, I've been operating under that type of thesis, was that once they hike the rate increases, everyone goes, oh, okay, it's here, and the market can digest any information. It just needs to be able to try to price it in. So surprised that we had that many bull days in a row. But yeah, we are still in a downtrend. However, just from a seasonality perspective and everything else, I do think we could have a little more follow through. Probably towards the end of the month. The thing that's going to happen here as we get into the end of the month, so like traditional portfolios or like pension funds, etc., were like 60 as equities, and then these are some bonds over here. So quarterly, those big funds get rebalanced. The bond market has gotten absolutely hammered, right? Because in order for yields to go higher, like bonds have to go down. So bonds have been going down as yields are going higher. And what that does is, if you look at the end of the quarter, if bonds, the amount of bonds the value of those bonds go down, and they're under that weight that they have to maintain for their pensioners or for their fund, per their prospectus, then they are going to have to rebalance. So I do think at the end of the month, you could see some equity selling in order to buy more bonds so that they can maintain their portfolio mix. So, but we're not there yet. We got a couple more days. I think that would probably start like, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Monday even, but I think like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, going into the end of next week, the end of the month next week, I think we could see a little bit of a pullback. Otherwise, maybe just chop around right in here. Here is the SPY. You fib out this whole move, right about a 50% retrace. We could come all the way up into this 618. So again, I don't think it's time for like indiscriminate, just buy everything, we're going back to the moon. But some of these companies that are either like severely beaten down, you've been able to make some good gains off the bottom. I think that it's going to kind of slow down on some of those. Like, I don't know, maybe like Square, could probably try to grab some pullbacks. PayPal, like some of these, Shopify. I wouldn't be taking any breakouts up here. I'd look for some pullbacks, because these are pretty big moves. That's 40%, off the bottom there. Baba, again, I expect this to retest a little bit. These are some big moves off the bottom, and some of these that are just kind of like the market conditions are still going to be unfavorable to these companies. The rising interest rate environment, tightening liquidity, that kind of thing. Oils had some great follow through. So Warren Buffett, man, this guy bought 61 million shares over there. Even if, I think what was his price? Like, somewhere in there. He's up 13% on 61 million shares, like that quick. Oils had some nice follow through, bouncing. We got some news on Uber today. I think this is going to be sold though. It's gapping right into the 50. But yeah, there's SPY. Tesla, huge rip. Right into an interesting level. If I fib out like this, push down right into the 618. So I would expect this retest probably into 900, maybe like right in here, 925. But one of the really good things for Tesla, they not so much for people that can't afford gas, is that they raised their prices, I think, 2 times in the last couple weeks. Someone asked me about pricing power, and one of the things that I mentioned was companies that can raise their prices and maintain their pricing power during, because their cost of goods is going to rise. Like nickel, the nickel market's busted, aluminum, big producer out of Russia, are they still going to be able to buy, etc. But they raised their prices. I think, base Model 3s are like almost $60,000 or something. So they're able to maintain that pricing power by raising their prices. And if it doesn't hurt demand, it doesn't really increase margins, but it increases overall revenue. It doesn't hurt their margins. Versus if costs go up and you can't raise your price, then your margin compresses. Delta is kind of flat. A little bit of a bounce on the airlines and travel stocks. I did spend some time with some friends just the last few days, one of which had been on a cruise and said that the cruise was 30% full. So they were pretty impressed with the level of service they got. I don't know if it was very profitable for Carnival, but there are people cruising out there. I think it'll probably pick up, etc., but fuel costs and stuff. So I would probably steer clear of airlines and travel stocks just because fuel costs are so much higher. Same thing here on Roblox. Really nice bounce. Got a nice little push of about 40%. But I would expect that this start retesting, double bottom, forming like more of a base. I just don't think it's going to go rocketing. Maybe it hits the 50 before it has a larger retrace. Nvidia held very nicely in here. These are the ones that I'm a little more likely to play aggressively, is stuff that has bottomed better, held up some levels. So Nvidia holding really, really well. That one looks pretty good. AMD, it is still holding this downtrend. I do still have this put sale. I almost got a close on it. It did not close. Probably get rid of this. I don't need that line. I think the 200's right around here somewhere. Yeah, still kind of holding the 200. So we really need to close back above the 200 of those candles for this to be nice. But it held this level. You can see it's a very critical support zone for AMD. We have held it. Yeah, unless this makes some type of ginormous head and shoulders pattern, like a 7-8 month head and shoulders. Apple, what a trickster. Look at this. Looks absolutely horrible. Closes below that candle. Immediately bounces back above the 200. Yeah, Apple, ridiculous move back up on Apple. If you grab some shares off 150, or even off the 200, like a call or maybe trimming some of those shares, because I think you will get some type of chance to get a retest on Apple. We'll get that chance on the Apple Meister. But yeah, overall, I mean things look pretty good. This swing trade was looking good. Looks pretty terrible now. Kroger looks okay. AVGO, don't really love that close. We'll see what today looks like. I know some people were buying the retest on gold. Charge point was absolutely gorgeous. Just a phenomenal double bottom with a neckline retest. Nice bounce. We're into some resistance here. I think there's a long term. Yeah, the 100. So if you took some profits on charge point or sold some calls, it's a good place to do that most likely. Knee also looks pretty decent. PetQ did bounce fairly nicely. Merck, some people are still in this trade, looking good. PayPal is another one that again, PayPal I think long term will be okay. It's just probably going to retest, chop around, and then hopefully this next earnings they do well and it gaps up, but it's going to take a while to recover. Bros looks fantastic. Like that. Retesting a little bit. UNH made a new high. That doesn't look too great. Airbnb consolidating in between the moving averages. I was looking at some properties down there in Arizona, specifically for Airbnb. Now again, I was in Scottsdale, so I was in a really nice area, but more and more HOAs are going like anti Airbnb, and I think this kind of, I don't know, it could be a little bit of a problem. Hey, I'm Dad over in the YouTube chat. Good morning. Seeing this more and more, especially in destination areas. It's like this anti Airbnb sentiment. And there was one example. My friend's a realtor down there. I think it was like a $900,000 house. Got bid up to like 1.2 million. The HOA changed the rules on them, and they had to just sell it like right away again, because what they were initially looking to do was like a VRBO style thing / Airbnb. So the that pressure continues out there in the market. The defense stocks, L3 Harris looks like it's squeezed and ready to go. I think this was a 10 EMA trigger. Yep, right there. Most HOA rules are actually unenforceable. Maybe. I guess it depends on how much money you want to spend battling them. But a lot of times, just they make it so you can't even close in there. Like if they already have a short term rental thing. ESLT. This thing is rampaging. Lockheed Martin looks like it could go. So some of these have definitely compressed pretty nicely and look like they could go again. Boeing, some unfortunate news about another Boeing crash. I'm surprised this thing isn't down more. I guess we're waiting to find out what happened with that plane. I think it was in China. But personally, I'm steering clear of Boeing. I don't think Boeing's going anywhere. I don't see any reason to be owning the stock. They just cannot get out of their own way, it seems. What else? Meta has had a nice bounce. Again, I think it probably needs to retest, chop around, maybe grind higher till next earnings. Looked at that. Netflix. Netflix could be setting up, especially if it gaps above this blue line. Netflix could set up for a little move. I don't think it's going to go screaming back, up to 507 anytime soon. But Albert says, "Am I in Bitcoins? I have some Bitcoin. Wonder what is the pro and cons. Mine's in Coinbase Pro, not in IB. Liquidity is probably much better over at Coinbase, etc. Not sure what the fees over at IB are. Generally, IB is pretty low on fees. I know some people were looking at. I don't really need this anymore. Looking at pins. Yeah, this it's gonna take some time. That's all. Crowd Strikes had a nice bounce. Probably needs to retest a bit. Same with Twitter. Look to Square. Disney probably gonna chop around until next earnings. But yeah, crypto. I use Coinbase Pro. But I'm just more buy a little bit and hold, other than like some longer term levels. And if we get some like crazy rip, then I'll trim it. But there's a few protocols I like, and those are the ones that I buy. And I messed around with some coins before, but made some good money on things. But yep, yeah. These are I like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Maker, and I use Coinbase Pro. Speaking of coin, the coin, I wish this would have bounced better. But again, it did bounce, but it's got all these lower highs and did make a lower low here. I don't love that. Whereas like a Square, notice how Square made higher lows and also made new relative highs. I like Square a little bit better right now. But that's just me. I mean, if you really like coin, go for it. Got this covered call on J&J. I think Amazon bounced. Yeah, Amazon bounced pretty nicely as well. Getting into some resistance. So if you bought some Amazon, down here, and you want to like sell a little bit, try to rebuy that, little bit that you sell on a dip back down, totally do that. Split's not coming until like end of May, early June, I think. Google strong bounce as well. If you bought off 2,500, you're loving this little move. Yeah, I looked at PayPal. I mean, it's bounced a little bit. I think PayPal eventually will bounce some more. It's going to take a while. There is so much damage that has been done to a lot of these charts. They're not just gonna just magically go back to all-time highs. It's going to take time. So expect retest, gaps up, hit like the first time this thing hits the 50, I'm just gonna get rejected so hard. And then if you ever get back, well, not if you ever, when eventually, I mean, I don't know if the 100 is going to be up here, or down here, or something, but when you hit these long-term moving averages in a downtrend, going to be strong resistance as well. So just, I would go cautiously into some of these things. If you bought some of the dips on banks, I think you're being rewarded. I'd expect a retest, not a bounce. Here's the 10-year. I mean, not that 2.3% is a great return over 10 years, but it's better than 1.4 or wherever we were, over here in December, right? So here's your 10s. Here's your 30. 30's at 2.57. A lot of people make a lot of US 10 minus US 02 watt. Here's your spread between the 10s and the 2s. I think the Fed will be able to manipulate this by unloading their balance sheet. So the one thing I personally do not want to have a ton of in a rising interest rate environment is companies with limited access to liquidity or that have to borrow in order to fund their growth because they're unprofitable. Because if they're already unprofitable, they're going to be more unprofitable as their borrowing costs go higher. What's up, Josh? So in a rising interest rate environment, I would just steer clear of too many of those things. And companies that make money right now don't have to borrow a bunch of money to fund growth and raise their prices with inflation. That, is not going away with a quarter point interest rate hike. So unless the Fed's going to break the back of the economy, which I don't see them doing, I think they're going to definitely have to raise like a lot more than they initially thought. But I think they're coming to that realization now. JD looks like a nice potential short today. JD.com. Hi, I'm JD. Let's see. What else is gapping out there? Nicola. Nicola might have a truck. Allegedly. Supposedly. If I was in Nicola, I would sell this rip so fast. I would never be in Nicola in the first place, but what the hell? We'll throw on. Let's kind of watch it today. I don't think there's a huge short volume on this. Yeah, only 16%. How do stock splits affect the price? Paul, normally there is a run up into the splits. It pulls back and then bounces. This is not, the same as when Tesla and Apple split, like not the same type of market. That being said, across the S&P 500, most stocks, when they announced the split to post-split, I think there was about a 6% rise in share price or something like that. I do think that with Google and Amazon, people have been wanting them to split for so long that there could be some excitement for people able to buy this now. But you're also going to have people that like I literally know some people with a lot of Amazon and Google, and they're like, I'm going to have thousands of shares of Google and Amazon now, and they're going to just much more actively trade that position. So there could be some folks that are like, hey, I got so much of this, I can like sell a little bit now. But yeah, good question, Paul. And we'll see what happens. We also have, we got a ways. I think it's like end of May, early June on both of these. See what comes to fruition. So Tesla's not going to be tradable out the gate. Delta No. For our list, Roblo, no. Nvidia actually might. It's a gap and go. Technically that's a gap and go above the open. And then Apple, no. So no, 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 no. Maybe. And then yeah, I've traded Oxy and CVX like a little bit last week. This gap on JP Morgan and Morgan, that was an absolutely perfect gap. If you were watching this stock, you got perfect gap and go, terrific high wave, bear candle out the gate, right into, depending on exactly how you put your stop and etc. and your entry. Probably 1.2, 1.25 if you went, a little wider on the stop size or something. That was really good. Bank of America was also a really solid gap over here as well. This candle was forming, if you go to like a 1 minute. I played this one as well. This candle was forming bearish, which was making the 3 minute candle look really nice. I just barely got that in as it broke out. So those were superb gap and goes last week. What's up, Matt? Yeah, thank you. Good to be back. Good to be back. The SPY, I did open a bear call spread up in here. I think it's like 462 by 467, something like that. April. Nothing crazy. It's not like I sold like 100 of them or anything. A little bit of premium. I expect some type of retest and then a bounce. I do think we rally in April, sell in May and go away. And then I think we have a very choppy and nasty summer. You see the comparison to this bounce in 20? No, I have not. I mean, I've looked at Slack like minimally, not a ton. Not a ton, but I don't really see a comparison to 2018 from a like macro perspective. I mean, maybe this, like now that you've had these two tops and then a bounce, like I could maybe see. Are you talking about this? But this was off. This is just a different. This is the market responding to a change in monetary policy when it didn't anticipate one, and one wasn't really needed. Monetary policy needed to be changed, and the market's working its way through that, and it's going to continue to tighten. But I don't know. Maybe there are some people that are like, no, the Fed's not going to raise rates. I mean, there were people literally on Tuesday of last week still thinking Wednesday, still thinking the Fed wasn't going to raise rates. Rates are going higher, even if it puts us into a short-term recession, which all recessions are not bad. There can be some small recessions. Last 2 quarters, we recover fine. Doesn't mean the market's got to go to zero or anything like that. But yeah, I think they will raise rates at pretty much every meeting. All right, YouTube, thanks for hanging out. We will catch you on